Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, my friends. I know it's been a long time. It seems like since forever since we've been here, but guess what? She's back. And you know what? I can tell you about a whole lot of things that has been going on around the city of Memphis, around the city of Nashville. For those of you who don't know, I have temporarily relocated to Nashville. So I'm working at the world famous Nashville Memorial Hospital. So I've been here for a little while and I've just been enjoying my life, just trying to figure out what is really going on with this weather. It has me just befuddled. I'm not sure if it's the sinus, it's the pollen, it's the rain, it's the this, it's the that. So we already know the sinuses. That's going to be a whole episode by itself. So we need somebody on here. If anybody out there in TV land knows something about sinuses, y'all need to give your girl Molly a call because these sinuses are no joke. Then the next thing we had to deal with, okay, the time change. I don't know how many of you all had sprung forward, but I still have not sprung forward yet. I need my hour back. I'm sorry. I want my hour back. I need it. I gotta have it. I just been having so many challenges and struggles. I feel like if I just get an extra hour of sleep, I will be all right. But I got some good news, y'all. We back. We in stride. We talking about managing your healthcare benefits. The world goes round and round and round. I know y'all ready to see this awesome guest that I have on here. And you know what? For those of you who are wondering, unfortunately, I'm past the childbearing age. I know I don't look like it. I know I don't look like it. I know I don't look like it, but I am really past the childbearing age. I've passed that on to my nieces so they can have all of the fun and all of the luxury and all of the enjoyment of having and birthing those babies. But something funny. This is really a funny story, right? So remember, just a minute ago, I told you all that I work at Nashville General now, right? So I'm the senior director of patient access. So yeah, if you're in Nashville and you cut sick, yeah, come to Nashville General. We'll take care of you now. We got all that fun stuff out of the way. But the last person that I talked to before I left was actually a midwife who was trying to deliver a baby, but she couldn't deliver the baby for reasons of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Well, she had a lot of complications, but guess what? Guess what? My guest tonight could have alleviated all of the challenges she experienced. I know y'all saying, Melissa, you making that up. Okay, so now it's a lot of things y'all know. It's a lot of things y'all know about me, but y'all know I don't make stuff up because I don't have that kind of mind. So we're going to go ahead on and jump into this because even before the episode tonight, once I publicized the episode and this wonderful guest we had, I got several inquiries about the services that she provides. So let's go ahead on and jump into this and get everything ready. So let me give you this marvelous introduction for a marvelous woman that I have had the pleasure of meeting. And I tell you what, my life has not been the same since I met her for a multitude of reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest this evening is none other than Miss LaTonia Richardson. LaTonia is a Memphis native, a mother of 3 adult children, and a grandmother of 2. She studied healthcare administration and has over 25 years of healthcare experience surrounding case management, quality assurance, and healthcare consulting. She is an ACE trainer, and for those who don't know what ACE is, that's Adverse Childhood Experience. And as an ACE trainer, she helps individuals, family, and organizations understand the root cause of trauma and develop strategies to support those affected. Also, a certified diabetes prevention life coach trained through the CDC National Diabetes Prevention Program. All right, sister. As a diabetes prevention lifestyle coach, she helps people improve certain aspects of their lifestyle habits. We're going to get a lot of advice tonight, right? Such as healthy eating, increasing physical activity, reducing stress, problem solving with the general goal to prevent diabetes by practicing a healthier lifestyle. That's all of us right there, right? Shortly after becoming an empty nester, she became a certified birth doula trained through the DONA International, the first, largest, and leading doula organization in the country. LaTonia is the owner of Your Doula Connection and provides support before, during, and after birth, including postpartum and lactation support. Her mission is to prove birth outcomes by providing knowledge, compassionate care, unwavering support, and advocacy to every birthing family served. LaTonia is a member of the Tennessee Initiative for Prenatal Quality Care, a member of the Tennessee Doula Association, and serves on the state, ladies and gentlemen, the State Doula Council Legislative Group. She is also a member of the Mobile Homeless Ministry, an organization that provides support and resources to women and children that are experiencing homelessness. LaTonia's motto is, "Your lifestyle is a story. Make it a bestseller." And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to the stage the one and only for Miss LaTonia Richardson. How are you doing?
You know what? When you were saying that, I was like, who is she talking about? That's all right.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I am so pleased you're here. And, okay, so our topic was supposed to be on doula and childbirth and before and after, but now you got all of this other stuff. Before we jump into that, look, I know what I said, but I'm getting ready to go back on my word. Give us one good diabetes advice. What's the best thing we could do for diabetes?
Oh, man. Prevention is key. Prevention is key. A lot of times there are small things that you can do. It's just healthy eating. It's just healthy eating. It's just healthy eating. I can't say that enough. And especially as we get older, right? We still want to do things that we did when we were 18, 19, 20. We feel like we can eat late night. We feel like we can eat things that are not so good for us. And we don't pay attention to it until we go to the doctor. And then they say, well, you're pre-diabetic because of all of these foods stuff that you're eating and not getting enough exercise, not getting enough water intake, not taking care of yourself. And it adds up.
I kind of feel like you're talking about me personally. I'm just saying, I kind of feel like you're talking about me personally. But you know what? As we get into here, we already got comments already in the section for you that Calvin Sanford. Hey, Calvin. And for y'all don't know Calvin is our favorite photographer, Mr. Calvin. Calvin says his wife is into this as well. And hey, Mr. J. Henry, thank you for joining. Tonya, I know you know Jay Henry.
Yes,
he's watching. So yeah, you know Jay Henry. Hello. So you know what? We're getting ready to jump into this because we have a whole lot of questions for Tanya this afternoon. We're gonna make this wonderful and simple for everybody. So let's just jump in with this very first question. We're just gonna keep it straight and simple. Tell me about your experience as a doula counselor. Can you explain why you let me modify that. Hold on, let me hide that.
Okay.
Let me hide that. So, right. I guess I didn't take it all the way out. So y'all know. There you go. As a lactation counselor. And then we're gonna take the rest of that out, huh? Because she bad. She a horrible. Let me cancel this. And what we got here? We're gonna go to this one right here. Right. Here we go. Number 2. We on it now. What motivated you to become a doula and a lactation counselor?
Okay, so honestly, having grandchildren. You get a lot of stories, right, about women and their experiences in birth, having negative or bad experiences in birth. So as they continue on in their journey, they want the education. They want to be in the know because of the horror stories that many women have in the birthing room. And I'm not exempt from that.
Okay.
Having a child young, and going through that process, not being able to do things like skin to skin, not being able to have that support in the room. I experienced that. And so when my oldest son was expecting, I wanted to be in the know. I just didn't want to be a grandmother that was in the room and could not advocate for what was going on in the room. So I just did a deep dive. I started reading about all things birth, and I just wanted to be in the know. That's how it initially started for me. And
go ahead.
And so, because I had a background in healthcare, I've already worked with a lot of people. I knew hospital policy with the line of work that I had done. So I kind of knew the back end of hospital. So a lot of people, and you being in healthcare, you know that too. A lot of times when you're coming in and you're the consumer, you don't see all the things and everything that's moving in the background. So me knowing this and going into it, I knew that I had to be well informed about hospital policy. I had to be well informed about what birth looked like. So that way I could advocate, because my son was young. And so I wanted to break that curse. And how could I do that? I had to get involved. And that's what I did. And I just did a deep dive. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to take this course. I'm just gonna go out and take this course.
That's what you do. You just go take a class. Take a class.
Course. And I did that. And the rest is history. And lactation kind of like was a follow-up, right? Because when you help a lot of women in care, what happens? The women go home, they may receive that postpartum support, but they need help with breastfeeding. Maybe they're in the hospital a couple of days, and most times, you know this, there may be just one lactation consultant for the entire floor. And so you may or may not get the care that you really need. So I said, how can I help these women, especially women of color? Because statistically, they start out breastfeeding, but it falls off. Why? Because I'm irritated. I don't know what's going on. I do not know how to breastfeed effectively. So I'll just go to formula. You don't really, women that want to come out breastfeeding don't really just want to go to formula. But if I feel like I don't have a choice, I've got to feed my baby. So
and it's economical also. I mean, I can't even imagine what the cost saving is of breastfeeding over purchasing milk. I just can't even imagine the amount of savings that the big difference has, right? So now that I got question number one fixed, we're gonna digress just for a little bit and go back to question number one, because I'm sure you don't care anything about Dr. Fabian. So I got question number one.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your experience as a doula and a lactation counselor? Because I heard you just was doulaing yesterday or early this morning at 2:00 this morning, helping somebody with a baby. So tell us about that doula experience this morning.
Okay, so the recent experience, it was first time mom. And so I'm very cautious with my first time moms, right? Everyone, but in particular, we know that first time moms tend to have longer labors. But that's the reason why you would need a doula, because we can help shorten that time with the preparation and getting involved and getting to know and letting them know on the front end. I just find that if they know what to expect, I don't care if we're doing hospital tours. I don't care if we're just sitting down, drinking water and having conversations about what birth looked like, whatever challenges you may have. And so that's where that ACEs training kicks in too, because now we can talk about your life experiences, that we know that almost everyone has some type of adverse childhood experience that they have come across. And so it helps me to understand how to better serve. And so if I know how to better serve and we develop their relationship, then guess what? It's going to put you in a place of safety when that time comes. And then you have your family and or your partner, your spouse, and everyone in the room is loving on you. Things happen, and they can sometimes speed up and happen where you don't have to have all of those interventions that we hear about.
And it's funny you should say that because I, like you, was a young mom, and I think if I had a doula, I'm not saying my birth was a bad experience. It was a joyous experience, and I mean, if I was young enough, I probably would do it again. I don't know if Andrew would go along with that, but I probably would do it again. He probably kicking the table right now. Would do it again if I was younger, knowing now what a doula does, because I had my first experience with a doula about 3 years ago when I was at my niece's home. I went there to help her. She was expecting her third child. And so while I was there, she said, well, the doula is coming over. I was like, well, all right, I get to see a doula in action because I never knew what they do.
Yeah.
When I saw, she was so calming and so relaxing.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, while the doula was there, she actually went into labor. And I'm panicking. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. Your other two kids, while you have this baby, nobody told you to go in labor while I'm here. And the doula was like, relax, just relax. Just breathe, just do this, just do that. Yeah. And she's kind of like you. She had that same warm, nurturing, loving voice that you had. Yeah. While I was running all crazy wild all over the place. Well, let me ask you another question. Okay, so I got this one right. Look, I got this one right?
Okay.
What does the definition of a certified doula means? What exactly does that mean?
So I got certified through Doula International. It is the first certification or agency that does this particular training. However, since that time, there are a lot of agencies that are out there. The best thing I tell women that want to become a doula is do your research. Okay. To understand what that organization stands for. And just get a really good understanding about your choices. But the certification is just what it is, right? It's saying that you have went through the particular course, that you have did whatever coursework. With Dona's it was a little bit different because we had to have so many hours that were recorded that we could count as a particular birth. And some organizations don't require as much. So it just depends on what you feel comfortable with. I'll leave it that way. As far as the lactation counseling, I went through Healthy Children Project. Okay. Which is the Center for Breastfeeding. And that course takes up to 6 months to complete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so again, there are other organizations out there. It just depends on, what you want and what their mission is individually, what it means to you.
So, and I'm sure that kind of piggybacked off your healthcare administration because it all tied together, because that's what my degree is in, healthcare administration. And I think a lot of people think that healthcare administration, they give you all the how to operate a business and how to run a hospital and all of that. But I don't think they understand there's actually some clinical stuff that goes into that you get more science than you really realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't really that fun, right? So now I know on this next question, I can tell you this. Now on this next question, I know what I saw the lady help my niece do, but that was all in one day because it was just coincidental. The day the doula came, shortly after she got there, my niece went into active labor. So it was all moving too fast for me, so I couldn't process. I couldn't process it. I really couldn't process because it was moving so fast for me. Because all I know is, okay, I don't know what a doula do, but she's not doing nothing. I think she needs to call an ambulance or something. But explain. Once I stopped And as we say, relax, relate, release, I understood it.
Yeah.
So how do you provide emotional? I can kind of see the physical, the emotional, but really talk us through the definition of emotional and physical support during labor and delivery.
So every person that experiences labor is different, right? Every birth is
Right?
always going to be different. So we start with the person, and we do that based upon intake. So, like from the very
Right.
beginning, I would know, you know, do you enjoy meditation? Do you enjoy massage? Are you afraid of pain? How do you handle pain? And kind
Okay.
of go based off of that, because there may be a person that just don't want anyone touching them as it relates to a massage. They may want to sit in quiet. They may want
Okay.
just to hold your hand. They may be okay with different comfort measures that you can do as they're laboring throughout that process. So it's catered to whatever need that you need to be in that moment, and whatever plan that you have, because many times you would have a birthing plan, and the birthing plan is just that. It's a plan about how my birth is going to look. How would I best be supported? What goals do I want to accomplish with this birth? And we execute based upon that, emotionally, physically. And then let's talk about advocating as well, because
Okay.
in the of your plan, there may be some things that need to happen, um, or decisions that need to be made. And sometimes moms don't know, what are my choices? Now, we can't say, hey, I think you should do A, B, C, D. But what we can
Mhm.
say is, based upon the situation, here are the pros, here are the cons, here is the evidence based information that you need to make the sound decision. And we go off of that.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is really when you say evidence based, you open up a whole different set of categories for people because we just don't make decisions based upon what we think or what we
Correct.
feel is best for the mom. So for those who don't even know what evidence based is, that's really proven tech. I was going to say proven technology. That's my IT, but it
Mhm.
goes off of proven research and assessments that have actually been found to work and been in the best interest of the patient. But now, just not one isolated incident. They've done this case study
Right.
numerous, multiple thousands of
Mhm.
times, and the evidence remained the same that this is the best course of treatment. So a lot of people need to understand when you're talking about when you're doing evidence-based practice,
Yeah.
that you are really providing the best possible care. And that's what patients need to understand, that if you go to a doctor and he's just treating your A1C and he's just giving you something off the well, you all need to ask it, you know what is the evidence-based practice say? What is the best way to say this? Because a lot of times people don't understand. But, and I'm going to say something interesting here. You say you provide emotional and physical support during labor, but I'm going to be honest with you, LaTonia, just the little bit you shared, just knowing healthcare as I know, some
Mhm.
of the things you say you do could really work well beyond childcare,
Yeah.
right? I know that sounds weird or kind of ludicrous, but sometimes people, when they're suffering or they're going through, they need
Yeah.
somebody there to calm them down, to reassure them, to
Yeah.
make sure everything is going to be okay.
And
So, go
yeah,
ahead.
and not to cut you off, and another thing too, a lot of times moms get in the room, families get in the room, decisions have to be made, and they feel like they have to make a decision right then. Now, if there is a situation going on with the baby, there is
Hmm.
a situation going on with mom, yes, though that would cause for, like, they have to make a decision. But sometimes if everybody is okay, it's okay to let hospital staff know, hey, can you give me 30 minutes to think about it? I like to speak with my family about it. It's just the way we go about doing things to get the results. So many times moms will just not say anything, but inside They're scared, anxiety, they're mad. And guess what? All of those emotions slow down labor. It slows the process.
And it transitions to the baby. The
Correct.
baby receives all of that. And the one thing, and I don't think a lot of people realize this is, and I know I'm going a little bit, I'm going off a little bit, is, and I'm going to throw this out there, is the epidural.
Oh, yeah.
Society leads us to believe you have to have an epidural in order to have a baby. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm a living witness. I'm there. I was there. They said, well, okay, we're getting ready to give you an epidural. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, you have to get this. No, I don't have to get this.
Right.
And I didn't get the epidural for knowing better, LaTonia. The
Okay.
reason why I didn't get the epidural, even though I was a young mom, I'm deathly afraid of needles.
Oh, okay.
I'm deathly afraid of needles. So it had nothing to do with me knowing better or anything like that. I exercised and I did all of that stuff. So now I had a good, really good, it was painful. It was painful. Now, I'm
Okay.
not gonna say that. But I don't think people realize it's like you say, give me 30 minutes to think about this. And when
Yeah.
I said no, they said, we'll come back in a minute with the
Correct.
medication. And we kept going back and forth till finally I said, it has nothing to do with this. I'm going to go through what I need to go through,
That's
and I'm
right.
going to deal with this.
That's
But
right.
I just can't let y'all stick me with that needle,
Yeah.
which leads us to the directly into the very next question. So that's a perfect segue. So if we look at this, are there any particular challenges the mothers face that you believe were not addressed fairly?
Ooh.
Ooh, I
I'm
know,
gonna
right?
tell you, and I hope I know people watching, but I'll say this. Um, VBACs,
What's that?
vaginal birth after cesarean.
Oh,
I experienced a situation where there was pushback to let the mom labor the way that she need to attempt it. She wanted to have a vaginal birth. But here comes the pressure. Here comes here comes this. And then guess what?
she gave in and had the C-section. Because you know what? Stay right there because society has us to believe if you have once your first C-section, you can never have another vaginal delivery after that. We hear that so much.
Yep.
So now we're hearing that's not necessarily true.
That's not true. I've been in situations where moms have had VBACs and it's been wonderful. Great experience, short labors. But we have to give them the opportunity. And it goes back again to the stress of it all. If I
Okay.
got Dr. A coming in talking
Mhm.
about it, and then now that Dr. B came in, now guess what? A, B, and a C doctor come in, and how can you labor?
You can't because everybody's trying to get so your body can't relax. So at this point you
Correct.
tense up.
Correct.
So that's going to I don't know the right
Correct.
word, but is that going to make the baby not move? He's going to stay where he is because look, I don't even know what to do
Yeah.
because so many people
Yeah.
talking to my mom
Right.
distracting her.
Right. And then what ends up happening is everything is stressed because it's your body then is like a car wreck, right? You getting
Okay.
ready and then you're just stiff. And
Okay.
because you're thinking about that and now you're thinking about your baby, now you're saying, I don't know, it's just chaotic. And then they said, well, you got to make a decision. And then guess what? Failure to progress. Now we have to do something. And then now here comes another set of emotions, the crying, the really
Mhm.
not wanting to be cut on again, the whole thing. And now the thing that I've really worked hard for and I've gotten somewhere, I feel like I have. And now that's torn down.
So now she's totally regressed. She's
Correct.
totally regressed.
Correct.
And when that happens, I can't imagine the mother only because I had a vaginal delivery. And if you're a mother, that's something you want to experience because every mom wants to deliver their baby through the normal cycle of life.
Correct.
We really don't want to have a cesarean section. That's not what we want. That's not, some of us, I want to have my baby like my mom did, like my grandmama did.
Right.
I want to experience labor. I want to experience the pain. I want to experience that feeling of that euphoria. That's the best word that I could say, that euphoria, because yes, you do have a connection when you have your cesarean. I didn't have a cesarean.
Absolutely.
But when you have it's like a totally different dynamics. It's a totally different value that is placed in your brain, your mind. It's just taken to a whole different set of dynamics. And I just now that you've really made that interesting, because like I said, the world of medicine leads us to believe once you have a cesarean section, then no, you can't have a vaginal delivery. I mean, that is the myth that's out there.
And then you know that you have 9 months that you have been preparing, and you have talked to doctors, and they assured you that, hey, we're going to keep everything safe, but we're going to give you that opportunity to labor, and we're going to do all that we can without those interventions as much as possible to let your body do what it needs to do. And then now I feel failure, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. That is exactly right, because you don't mind being a failure in some things, but you really, really don't want to be a failure in childbirth, because it does something to you as a woman. Right?
Yeah.
It does something to you. Let's get into this next one, because this is going to be an interesting one. Have you worked with high risk pregnancy and challenges in birth? If so, how did you support the client? Because we got a lot of young moms out here, so I know that high risk.
Yeah, high risk is had an example a couple of times. Maybe they're already high risk and they're already in the hospital, right? They're on bed rest. Typically, if they're having, just for an example, let's just say twins. I've dealt with multiples. In this situation, we didn't know that there was going to have to be a situation where she had to just be at the hospital. I'm just here. Nothing's going on. I'm just here day in after day in. You have to cut off everything you know from at home. You have to leave your home and you have to go be stationed here at the hospital until that time comes. That can be challenging, especially if you have other children that are involved. And then let's talk about preterm babies. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that can be a challenge because, after a while, you have to be discharged, but your babies are still there.
Oh, I can't even imagine that. That is such a hurting thing to have to leave your baby. Do you deal with a lot of people with gestational diabetes? I'm sure, because you have that special training, you're able to deal with that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Once again, I don't know if it was because I was a young mom, but I had gestational diabetes, and I didn't realize that you could actually have diabetes just because you're pregnant.
Yes.
And after pregnancy, it goes away. It goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. I have dealt with women with gestational diabetes, and diet is key. And it's maintaining that because, you have the cravings and all these things that go along with it, but it's very important to stay on task. Resources. MyPlate.gov, I love that because they have a section on there about pregnancy where you can go in and you can take this little test to kind of see where you are and where you need to be when it comes to grains and what that looks like, and being healthy with fruit and replacing all the sweets and all of that, and kind of going over into nutrition and health.
Well, you know what? MyPlate.gov, I need to go to that anyway, not because I'm pregnant, only because I'm greedy. I'm just saying. Yeah, So this next one, this next one, Tanya, this next one gonna be a tricky one because you know what? I know the struggles I deal with. Like I told you, the last conversation before I left work today was what a physician who was having struggles with A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Yeah.
I know the struggle is real, right? I know it is real. So
Right.
how do you advocate the client's wishes while maintaining a good relationship with the medical staff?
That's good. I
That's
mean,
it,
listen, we probably can stay here all day.
yeah,
So,
we can park it right here. We can park it right here.
so I'm going to go first and say the birthing plan, right? The goal is that everyone is on the same page and that we communicate and be effective for the health and safety of mom and baby, period. Everybody's on the same team. So that's number one. Number two, how I deal with it, it's all in your attitude, right?
Okay.
It's all
Okay.
in your attitude. So as soon as I come in, I'm going to that nursing station. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to say, hello, I'm with A. Jones. And I just wanted to come out and talk to you guys. Are there any restrictions? Is there anything that I need to know? I'm going to be there because why? I want to make that space a great space. If I come in with an attitude, I'm frowning, I'm not being in a place of peace, it's chaotic, right?
Right.
For certain medical staff that come in and maybe they're not having such a good day. We can't worry about that. We're still going to speak because we have to do what we need to do. If there is an issue and I feel like maybe that was the wrong information or maybe it's something I'm missing, I'm not going to do it in front of the person that's birthing. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to have a conversation in a way that's professional. That way we can respect each other. And it may go along like, hey, maybe you suggested this, but I was reading about evidence-based care in this matter and it stated this. I just wanted to know your opinion on it.
But now, so we know.
now, I'm not saying they're gonna be a happy camper, but what I am saying is depending upon who it is, and they don't went to school for 12 years.
You can't tell me because I'm a doctor and I already know. Let me ask you a question. Fun question. Do you find male or female for OBGYNs more of a challenge? Which one gives you more of the challenge, the male or the females?
The female gives me the most. Male physicians, male OBs, no problem. Hello, how you doing? Who are you? Anesthesiologists love me coming. Hey, what's going on? I'm so glad. Who are you? No problem. Never. No problem. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That is not, well, maybe that's because the male physicians know, looking at you, well, she is a female, so maybe you have better insight into what's going on versus a female. But then again, if they haven't had any children, how would they know what's going on?
They wouldn't know, but I've never had that happen. Now, when it comes to female nurses, sometimes, it's a territorial thing. That's the feeling that I get. Again, I have went to school and I have done this, and I know that sometimes I have some nurses that say, wow, that position, I didn't know. What was that? I can learn from it. What did you do differently? So it just depends on how open-minded people are. My hope is that as it continues, because it's not going anywhere, that we can all get along and we can all do what we need to do for the betterment of the person that's getting the service. Because at the end, we're here to serve them. They're happy. If they know everybody is getting along, they're happy. And for the most part, it's fine. I may have had one situation because I'll go on the doctor's appointment with the person as well. And sometimes it's like, why are you, I may speak and say hello and not even get acknowledged.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've had that happen.
That That's
And then
not
I turn
nice.
around
I'm
and
not being facetious saying that's not nice. I just can't imagine something, regardless of what the situation is. Isn't common courtesy the first part of every
yeah.
relationship? Just common
And then
courtesy.
you turn around and you see these people over and over again. You see these people over and over again in birth.
Yeah, because you're not going anywhere and they're not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
you would have to think that there would be a happy medium,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just a bit surprised that you say maybe I shouldn't be surprised because for the lack of I'm gonna just say, women, we can be catty,
We can be
we can
petty,
be
like
we
I
can
do it. Yeah, I do it like this. I've been doing it like this since 1975. You ain't gonna come here and tell me what.
you know what that reminds me of. I was installing software in this little small town back in backwoods America somewhere. And, we always have to do the bed to butt check before we convert them over to see how many patients. I mean, this is only a 10-bed hospital. And I said,
Yeah.
well, can you do a bed to butt check so we can flip the system over? I don't need to do no bed to butt
I'm
check. I've been doing this so many years.
I'm
And
telling
I know how many patients we got in da 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 da. And she gave me this big old long dissertation. Well, all right, then you know what? We're gonna go ahead on and flip the switch. Girl, we flipped that switch and we switched to reconcile the census. When she said they had three, they had two because one of those patients expired. In the process of her standing there arguing with me, the patient
you. Oh
expired.
wow.
So that's why you should never say never. I understand how long
Never
you've been
say
doing it.
never.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But every day, medicine evolves
Yes,
daily.
it
Is
does.
it ever
Yes, it
evolving and it
does.
changes from day to day to day, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, what techniques do you use to help manage natural pain? Pain naturally during labor. Just what some good techniques you can use.
Um, in the beginning stages, warm water. Everybody knows that, right? Warm baths kind of helps slow down labor. Warm,
Really?
yeah, warm showers. I always suggest too heating pad on the lowest setting, because a lot of times you pain in the lower back,
Mm-hmm.
and so it kind of helps manage pain a little bit naturally. Other things are, let's see, positioning, of course,
Okay.
even counter pressure, hip squeezes.
What's
Um,
a hip squeeze?
Hip squeezes are as the contractions are going,
Okay.
you go on each side of the hips and you press in, and it helps alleviate the pain.
It's taking the pressure off.
Correct.
Oh, I see that. Only because, once again, only because but that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. So it helps alleviate pain. Also, other techniques. You wouldn't even imagine how even massaging or using acupressure would help manage pain.
Really?
Yes. Not puncture, but acupressure.
Right, because you know what? I'm glad you cleared that up because that's why I say real. I was thinking acupuncture, but you say acupressure. So you're just essentially there and putting pressure on a certain portion, that lower back,
That lower back, absolutely.
that lower back, that lower back. Right.
Yes.
Now, this is the one question everybody's been working about. We've been talking about birthing and all of that. So we're gonna jump into this breastfeeding question for
Okay.
all the moms out there. What is your approach to helping the new mother who's struggling with breastfeeding?
Okay. So there are two things that's always associated with breastfeeding. It's going to be poor latch,
Okay.
because a lot of times, if the baby isn't latched on properly, then that's when you get the sore nipples. That's when you get all of the problems. The other is milk supply,
Okay.
because we have to make more milk to keep more milk coming. And then lastly, it's always going to be medical.
Okay.
So those are some of the key things that I like to look for when we're talking about moms that are struggling with breastfeeding. And primarily, it's getting the baby latched on properly. Because guess what happens if you don't latch the baby on properly? Your nipples are sore.
Ooh.
They get cracked.
Okay.
You're dealing with engorgement. You're dealing with all these issues. And guess what happens? You take your hands off of it and say,
Nope, I'm
I'm not
done.
going to do it. I'm done. And
I'm
so
done.
it all starts out with the appropriate latch.
So latching is the key.
Appropriate latching is the key, because here's the thing too. Breastfeeding is not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be a
Okay.
tugging, if you will, but it is not supposed to be painful. And a lot of times moms think, oh man, it's supposed to be feeling like this, or your mama or your grandma say, well, it hurt me and I was okay. I mean, I was a little sore and everything, but it helped. No, it's the latch.
Well, look at what one of our good friends, Miss King, said.
I wanted
Oh,
baby when latch on and I gave up. Yeah, yeah. And that is evident of what happens a lot of times, because you feel like the baby wouldn't latch. And so that's why I always encourage getting involved with a lactation counselor, a lactation consultant, because in that case, what they could have done was come out and do an assessment and really look at how you're feeding your baby. And
okay.
off of that assessment, that counselor would be able to determine, okay, is mom's belly to baby, you know, is the baby angled in the way that it should? Is the baby appropriately latched on? Is it asymmetrical? They can look at all of these things and say, hey, and a lot of times it's just a small little thing that you need to do differently.
Just a simple adjustment.
It's a simple adjustment.
Wow. So, because I just see why just hold them up a little bit higher or tilt them ahead a different way.
Right.
Just simple.
Or maybe you have your hand on the back of their head. Well, the baby can't go back and with the gait if you have the hand on the back of the head. So it's just simple things that can happen. If the baby mouth isn't wide enough, sometimes we feel like, oh, the baby mouth is not, it's just this small. Well, sometimes the baby, if you have the hand on the back of the neck, then the baby can't go back to come up and on. Because baby
going away.
Yes, because baby have to come up and on to the breast.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's making sense. It's making sense to me now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure breastfed babies have to be much healthier.
Oh, the benefits of it. You know, we always talk about benefits for mom, and mom's benefit is they don't have to go to the doctor as much for ear infections or illnesses, because everything that baby needs is in the milk.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah,
right?
You could send your baby away to daycare and maybe it's something going on. That baby can come back and get on the breast and get everything it needs to be able to sustain and not have those issues going on, much more than someone that's not breastfed.
Right. And our good friend Karen saying her opinion is something about the milk. I don't know. I guess it's because it's natural from inside the body and you have all these healthy nutrients, because I'm sure if you're going to breastfeed, you have to have a healthy diet. So it's almost like getting it from the earth, pretty much fresh. It's like eating fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yes, the body makes everything that the baby needs, and the baby in return, it's like a socket and a plug. Like everything is already there within all of the nutrients and all of the antibodies and everything that goes on when it comes to the body. It's there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I thought about, once again, I was a young mom, and I'm going right here. I thought about breastfeeding, and that was as far as I went with it. I actually thought about it, for a
Mm-hmm.
brief moment, but I was afraid. I was afraid it was going to hurt. I didn't know what it was. There was no doula there. There was nobody. I had my baby at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, so everybody
Mm-hmm.
know. I pretty much had my baby at the Mayo, right? And
Okay.
they don't pay attention to young girls there. They just look at you as just another young mother that's coming through here, right? And so nobody really gave us that extra attention that they did, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So while we're talking about breastfeeding, how do you handle situations that even though the mom is breastfeeding, the baby still isn't gaining weight? What do you think about that? What happens in that aspect?
Again, all of this is assessment driven, right? And so many
Okay.
times in this situation, we would do feedings. Everything is calculated by number of ounces that the baby should be at a particular age.
Okay.
So with that being said, maybe we will begin out first weighing the baby on the scale in the diaper, everything that it is, and then we would do a feeding with the baby and then put the baby back on. Even if the baby used the restroom, we would put that baby back on. That's one of the ways that we can determine over a period of time. Another thing that you're going to know on whether or not your baby is gaining weight, because at first when you have the baby loses weight before they gain weight. And so when
Okay.
you take your baby to the physician, the pediatrician, they look at the weight too, based upon the born weight and the weight that they are when they first come and get that appointment done. That's why it's so important for moms to already have a pediatrician schedule before they leave the hospital and kind of already know, so that way you can manage that. But
Okay.
in all things, if something's going on, you're going to know because your breasts are going to tell you everything. You have to empty your
Okay.
out. Another thing is appropriate breastfeeding. Do you know? And that goes back into the education piece. Do you know if your baby is eating on that particular breast or feeding at that particular time? And once they get done feeding, just looking at the cues of feeding. If baby hands is in fist mode,
Uh-huh.
they're hungry. They still can eat. When babies are relaxed and their hands are open, that means they're full. And so it's just a training of understanding baby cues. They give off cues. Even if the baby is screaming, there were cues that the baby gave before they started screaming.
So now I'm looking at this. Andrew, you better not do this because my house, I better not get back to that house and I'm walking around the house and Andrew gonna be doing like this. You better not be doing that, Andrew.
But if somebody is thinking
Walking
that,
around like this. I'm
but
hungry. I'm hungry.
if somebody thinks that their baby isn't gaining weight, my first thing is going to be call their pediatrician, have that baby be seen. Another thing is you got to pay attention to your baby. If your baby is sleeping at the breast, just sleeping at the breast, hadn't eaten, they just sleeping and not taking the breast, those are telltale signs that there is something wrong. If the baby is acting lethargic, that's telltale signs. So you have to just be in the know, like, okay, hey, this ain't right because this baby hadn't eaten. No baby is that good that they're sleeping all day.
But I'm agree with that. Not a one.
Not a one. Ain't no baby that good.
And no baby, no baby, no baby, no baby, no baby. All right, LaTonia, I'm gonna give you a break. We're gonna take a 30-second
Okay.
pause for the calls here, and we're gonna run this little ad, and we're gonna love this. And let's see if I can get it right this time. Let me see what we got going.
Okay.
am here with my special guest, Miss LaTonia Richardson, owner of Your Doula Connection. And her website is yourdoulaconnection.com. And her mobile is 5154. You know what? Why do I have to read all of this? Why can't I just put it up there and just let it run? Let it run and just let it run. So we are working on countdown. So now, right? Let's go to this question, right? Have you worked with mothers who have special birthing challenges like premature babies, tongue tie, or mantis? Oh, did I say that right? Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry.
So yeah, I think we kind of talked about premature babies and experiencing with that. A lot of women think that they can't breastfeed because their babies are premature. And although in the beginning, the baby's in the ICU, for those that don't know, with premature, baby's in the ICU, but you can do what's called hand expression.
Okay.
So you can do hand expression to have milk for your baby. CDC recommends that babies get, it's more beneficial if they breastfeed for the first 6 months. Now, moms can go on longer if they desire to breastfeed. The baby can be 2.5 years old and they still can breastfeed if they choose to. But in the case of premature infants, people say pumping, but hand expression has the best results when it comes to getting the milk with the nutrients that you need, because the pump just kind of sits there and it makes the noise and all of the things. But hand expression mimics how the baby would naturally feed if they were on the breast. And so there are more benefits to it that way. And then moms could, at that point, store that milk, or you can go to the hospital and say, here's my milk for my baby since I can't breastfeed right now, until they're able to do that.
So now, since we're talking about managing your healthcare benefits, here's the $1 million question everybody wants to know.
Oh, yeah.
Are your services covered by insurance?
Okay, so the thing about insurance right now, it's in legislation right now. It is our hope, us doulas, at some point to be able to take insurance from TennCare to be able to provide, doula services. And I think we're well on our way. I think we're going to get there soon. And so legislation is doing what it needs to do to help get this passed through. In the meantime, there is an organization for women that may want to have free services, and that's through Porter Leaf. Yeah, so I am partnering along with other doulas with Porter Leaf to provide free doula services and wraparound services for women that need it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I also work with a lot of military families. So if you are military family, I am contracted with Humana TRICARE insurance for that.
So now if you're with the military, then they will cover it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
And if you don't, and for women that doesn't have the money to do it, that's where Porter Leaf comes in. And it's a simple application. It's very simple, cut and dry. And they are doing a phenomenal job to helping women in Shelby County service. Also, too, I'm one of those doulas. Just call me. I can work with any family to provide that care.
Okay. And one last question before we let you go is, how do you handle follow-up care and ongoing communications with the client after birth?
I am hands-on. So once mom gets home, I like to go there if it's okay with them. And so it's either going to be online, whether we're doing a Zoom call, in person, or on the telephone. And that's where your postpartum support comes in. So I see them for a couple of times after the birth, so we can talk about life after, right? How do I get back to the norm as much as possible? What resources are out there that I can benefit from? What groups are out there that I can join? So that way I can be successful and have what I need. And so I like to do that to make sure that they have everything. And I'm one of those type, you got my number. So if you need,
call me. You got my number, call
yeah,
me.
you got my number, call me, because I understand. And just because it's okay that first month or two doesn't mean that 6 months down the road, I need some supports. Um, Apple Tree does a good job when we talking about prenatal supports. They have
Okay.
counseling service that are free for mothers.
Okay.
And so they can call that number at any time, day or night, if they have questions, if they aren't feeling like themselves. And so not only that, I think we're just trying to do a great job, doulas and health workers and mental health workers, to make sure that moms and their babies are taken care of throughout the entire process.
Well, I tell you what, if you give mom the love, as much love as you've given me over the past year and a half or 2 years that I've known you, the babies can only be so successful. And I just want to thank you for coming out this evening and joining with
Thank you for
us.
having
We
me.
will share this over and over and over, and we're going to
Yes.
look forward, and we're going to have you back on sometime later on
I
in the
would
year.
love, I would
We
love to
gotta
come
have,
back.
you gotta have some pictures next time so we
Okay.
can see you in action. All right, LaTonia, we're gonna let you go now. All
All
right, see
right.
you
Thanks for
later.
having me.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye.
joining.
Thank you
Bye
all.
bye.